Welcome back to an instant reaction edition of the Penn State 365 podcast. As always, I'm your host, Richie O'Leary, and HappyValleyInsiders.com very own. Penn State has just lost a decommitment from four-star, 188 in the country overall prospect Jayden Woods at a Mill Valley High School in Kansas. Now, he did flip his commitment from Penn State to Florida. If you're on the Lions Den forum on pennstate.rivals.com, you already kind of knew this one was going to happen. We hinted at it last week. As soon as we were able to confirm that he was at Florida this past weekend for an official visit, we knew that there was some smoke brewing there. He did end up going to campus with Billy Napier staying on board, and the athletic director showing his support towards them as well for the Gators. They got a lot of NIL support, so it makes a lot of sense based on the fact that he just took a visit there. Signing day's in a week. If you're taking a visit before signing day, you're probably going to end up with that school, let's be honest. So it is a little bit of a tough blow. 6'3", 240-ish kid. Now, he has room to pack on like another 10 to 15 pounds, but end of the day, this is still a pretty big blow because this hurts this defensive line class. Jayden Woods was the best among the bunch. Now, there's some talent there still. They have Cortez Harris coming out of Maryland, kind of a long-term project there. They have Chaz Coleman, who's got a high ceiling, super athletic kid, has only been playing defensive end for a year and looked really good while doing it at Warren G. Harding over in Ohio, one of the talented programs in Ohio. And they were just able to convince him not to visit Ohio State this weekend. So that's a big win right there, but you also have a big loss in Jayden Woods, who was the most college-ready of this group, along with the highest rated among this group. They also have LeVar Arrington, who's projected at linebacker right now, but maybe a future defensive end, depending on how he adds that weight, adds that muscle. Ivan Kamaju, we have him at defensive end right now, but it sounds like he might grow more into a defensive tackle, and he would join four-star Randy Adarica. So right now, based on that defensive line class, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you count Arrington, and only two of them are four stars, in Kamaju and Adarica, both who project as interior guys. So the defensive end room is a little bit questionable. Now, Deshaun Burnett is a guy who's already 6'4", 220. He packs on 20 pounds. Who knows? Maybe he's a defensive end at the next level too. But losing Jayden Woods definitely hurts, especially just because signing day is less than a week away. It's next Wednesday, December 4th. And not being able to hold on to him definitely hurts. But you were able to hold on to Chaz Coleman. So I should say it makes this loss not as much of a blow as it probably could have been, because if you lose Coleman and you lose Woods, then your defensive line class is just falling apart left and right. But still a very good job by Deion Barnes this cycle, Penn State defensive line coach. But this one hurts. This one does hurt. I would say if I had to project it anywhere, like I know we do the sting factor, and you'll see it in our articles shortly, but on pennstate.rivals.com. But out of a 1 through 10, I'd say this is a 7. Yeah, because he's your best defensive lineman, in my opinion. Now, people can debate that back and forth because a lot of people do like Chaz Coleman. They do think he has a higher ceiling, and I do too. But I think Jayden Woods' ceiling was right there, and I think Jayden Woods was more college-ready. A guy that could probably come in and play some snaps in year one. Probably still redshirt because of the 4-game redshirt rule, but this does hurt. This does hurt Penn State a little bit. This hurts James Franklin. This takes this class from a top 15 class to pushing it now to 17. Now you flip a guy like Bryce Baker this weekend, 4-star top 100 quarterback. This probably puts him back into that top 15 range. But I know fans have higher expectations. Fans want a top 10 class consistently, and they haven't really been able to do that. This is more of it seems more of like a filler class a little bit. Now, that being said, there is still some highly ranked guys there. Darius Dixon's a stud at cornerback. Jameer Joseph is a stud at cornerback. A lot of good running backs. Tyke Hayes, Jabri Coleman. Never really have to worry about that room with Sider. Again, still some good defensive linemen, some good offensive linemen, nothing crazy there. Wide receiver is the big question mark for me in this one still. Not to go too off topic, but they do have some talented guys. Like Lyric Samuel, I like a lot out of New York. Matthew Alton's really fast. Can that translate to the next level? We've seen it yes and no. We've seen Caden Saunders struggle with that speed. We've seen Amari Evans look better. So either way, this class is still a solid class, but it's not the level that Penn State needs to get to in order to get to that next level of the college football playoffs. Now, mind you, I say that take that with a grain of salt because they're currently number 4 in the college football playoffs. So they are doing something right. The offensive line room, I trust Troutline more than anyone in the country probably. Sider, I trust anyone more than in the country when it comes to running backs. Andy Koltanicki is a great offensive mind. So they have a lot of good stuff there. But I just feel like this class isn't the next level class. Like, now it's a good depth filler class, and you need that depth at this level of college football. But losing Jayden Woods at the end of the day hurts a lot. Are they done with losing kids? I would say probably yes, but you never know with Chaz Coleman, because he did get the Ohio State offer. He did say he was going to visit Ohio State this weekend, then canceled it recently. He could still visit technically. It's not too far from Warren G. Harding out there in Ohio, so something to monitor very closely. But it sounds like right now that visit is canceled. He's going to stay with Penn State, and he's going to sign with Penn State next weekend. They're also pushing for a lot of different guys, and we mentioned it before. Brandon Finney, they pushed hard, couldn't get him. Sounds like he's going to stay with Oregon. Lex Cyrus pushed hard, couldn't get him. Sounds like he's going to stay with South Carolina. Bradley Gompers committed to Duke, probably going to flip to Michigan, it sounds like. And Andrew Olish is the one to keep the closest eye on. He's between Michigan right now and Penn State. Now, Michigan, of course, just flipped a very significant quarterback recruit in Bryce Underwood, so that's the big selling point there. Plus, he's been committed there for God knows how long. On top of that, they have some solid NIL as well. End of the day, NIL plays a factor. I will say, like, for this one, for example, for Florida, it played a little bit of a factor for Jayden Woods. Florida didn't really have a lot going for him this season. There was a lot of boosters that pulled their money back as soon as Billy Napier was on the hot seat. Luckily for Billy Napier and crew, they were able to pull themselves off of that hot seat and make it a little bit cooler. And that's when the NIL money came back into play. And that's how they're able to get kids like this last minute, last second, and able to get them on the campus as well. That's the way the SEC works. Almost every SEC program has significant dollars. And until Penn State starts turning it around, NIL dollar-wise, it's still going to be a struggle. Now, that being said, there's been some improvement in that category. It's just not enough. A lot of this money that they're bringing in seems to be going to the Beaver Stadium renovations, which I totally understand. I totally get it, and it's totally needed. After being in that press box alone, it's rough. There's a lot of things that need to be improved for Beaver Stadium, and they had to do it immediately, and that's why they put in new turf for the college football playoff expectation, that they're going to host a home game soon. But some of that money also has to start going towards NIL, and not just retention. I'm talking about getting high school kids, getting portal kids. And there's some money there. There's a good amount of money there, I should say. But it's not enough to compete at that level of Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan. Like, SEC programs are just funneling money into these NIL collectives. Not even just the collectives, but also on the side as well. If you have big money, you're not going to go through a collective. You're going to go on the side. So they do need to up their game and up their ante a little bit there. But it is what it is. Jayden Woods is now going to Florida. I don't expect anything else really to happen with that one. I think they're going to be done with defensive ends. They might peek into the second, just peek into the high school route around the second go around, because there will be some kids that just don't sign this cycle, and they'll end up signing in February and end up enrolling in summer. Of course, we've seen that in the past with Chim Diono. Trying to think who else. There was another late flyer, I can't remember, but. They do it from time to time, but on top of that, you have the portal too. So God forbid you do need a defensive end, you can just go hit the portal up real quick. It's not that hard. It's relatively easy, but like I said before, I'm going to say 7 out of 10 for this one. Jayden Woods does sting a little bit because he was probably your best defensive end recruit in this class, one of your better defensive recruits in this class, but what are you going to do? Just the way of recruiting. It changes daily, changes hourly, changes by the minute now. So like I said, keep an eye on Chaz Coleman. That's the one I'll keep the closest eye on for the rest of the commitments. But as of right now, it seems like this class is pretty solid for the other 25 kids right now. Keep an eye on Bryce Baker this week. And I think we might have another podcast coming soon, or instant reaction podcast coming soon. But for me and everyone at HappyValleyInsider.com, PennState.Rivals.com, check out our new promo, Black Friday promo code RIVALS24, RIVALS, all caps, 24, one word. 75% off subscriptions. You can get the latest intel, the latest recruiting scoop, the latest on the transfer portal, because we have a bunch of different names that Penn State has started to reach out to already. Right there in the Lions Den forum. It's the greatest forum on the web for Penn State fans, and definitely check it out. But for me and everyone else at PennState.Rivals.com, that's another episode of the Penn State 365 podcast, signing off.